Hi, Dario. Yeah, you'll need to
Hello,
unmute.
can you hear me?
I do hear you. Yes, welcome. So I think you said you're going to use your own uh, server or desktop, right, to do the session?
I'm here. I'm sorry, I was I couldn't hear you.
Okay.
My no, but my it was on my end.
Okay.
Now it's fine.
So are you going to log into one of our lab servers or are you using your desktop?
No, I will be using my desktop. Yeah,
Okay, that's fine.
yeah.
All
Um,
right. Kai's here. So we had, earlier session with Pat, so I think there's just two or three people maybe. Um,
Great.
there's several more that are registered that will probably watch the video, but if we get new people, we will need to take a moment and get them logged onto their server.
Great. That's great. And tell me, yeah, I mean, I noticed you are already recording, so I don't have to actually record
Yeah,
anything,
it's
right?
automatic. Yeah, that recording starts automatically.
Right. Can I have a copy of the recording later?
I'm sorry, what?
Can I have a copy of the recording?
I believe that'll be fine. I'll check,
Oh, nice.
but it should be fine.
Great, great.
Hi, Kai. Welcome.
Mm, maybe he's not there.
So we ended our last session a little bit late for a few of us. So I know Rob is coming back, um, and so he'll be here. But again, he only had 15, 20 minutes since the
Okay.
last stopped.
And I was planning on leaving some room at the end for questions. I don't know if this is more interactive or it's, you know,
Yeah,
me
very
talking.
interactive. Yeah, I would say this is very interactive. I mean, if you've got some slides, great. But I assume you're going to walk us through some scenarios, do
Yeah,
work, and like Pat did. And so, yes, we made it very interactive before, and that would be fine if that's what you'd like.
great. Of course, yes. I mean, yeah, I have just one slide explaining what I'm going to do, and that's it. I will jump right into it. So if it's interactive, that's great.
Mhm.
Better.
Great, thank you.
I think you're on mute.
Yes, I just made you a co-host,
Okay. Admin.
so you should be able
Admin.
to share whatever you need to do. Eric is joining. That's good. Welcome, Eric and Rob.
Hey, Roger.
Hi, Eric. If you here, let me send this. We've got these servers set up, so if you want to log on to one of these servers, I'll just send this out on the chat so you can get there. So tell me you took that picture, Rob. Behind.
I wish.
Yeah. I should have got mine. Let's see. I can get my race background here.
Yeah.
Just to be sure, Roger, it's a don't rotate platform.
Yes, yeah, we had to take John's server set and use it because we had trouble uh, putting the ones we had for RPA, getting them to publish. So luckily John isn't using his, so we were able to pick those up. There we go. Got my Formula One behind me. So Eric, let us know how you're doing. I think the other guys were on the earlier call, so they already have their servers. And we'll get started in just a moment.
Yeah, it went well. I had no complaint.
Good. Welcome, Brian. I'm sending a chat message that you can use to log on to the RPA server that we'll be using, or
all right,
for you. And you'll need to just click that link and go to the Microsoft site. We're using the Azure Lab Services. And if you don't already have it, you'll have to create a Microsoft user ID and password. If you do, you can just use your own, and then it will assign you one of the servers for this lab.
is that the labs Azure link that's in there in the
Yes.
chat? Okay. So for now, we're supposed to just get logged in and things.
Yes. Yeah. Just
Okay.
get logged in. If you're already logged in, let us know.
Yep, I got connected and
Okay, great.
signed
Eric,
in.
connected too?
What?
Eric, are you connected also?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Sorry.
Very good. Okay. Thank you. Just wanted to confirm. All right, let's get started. So I want to welcome Dario Soria, hopefully I'm saying that right.
Yes.
Close enough. Okay, thanks. From Help Systems. Dario is a lead consultant working with Help Systems. He consults on a variety of accounts, enabling them to automate their processes across the organization. Helps customers every day look at optimizing their processes and ensuring that they're efficient and their automation opportunities are ready to go. So Dario, I'm going to hand it off to you, and we've got a couple hours here just about.
Right.
Learn some of the more advanced features. Thank you.
Right. Let me then just share my screen. All right. Yes, you were close enough. Yes, I'm from Argentina. I have been working with health systems for quite some time now. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I became a certified RPA consultant and been working with Automate and some of our other RPA tools from that point on. Today, yes, I'm here to talk about some of Automate's advanced features. My idea or my objective is to build a template task that you can reuse in all of your automations from now on, which will include some of these things over here. This is what we are going to see today. Now, Automate is a great tool. Some of its great benefits are that you can do pretty much whatever you want. I mean, whatever you are doing manually today, you can do it within Automate. One of the things is if you have your task and you have already automated some steps, we can record those important steps in a log file that we will create. I will teach you some of the things that are important in a log file and how to handle them. Error logging, we are going to see what do we do when we get an error inside of Automate? How can we bypass the error? How can we make decisions when we have errors? And basically how to deal with errors inside of our own task. Then we can learn how we can create global variables. We call them task variables that we can use them all around our task automation and not just on our main function. I think that's what you have seen with Pat so far. Now we don't have to build everything by yourself. We already have some pre-built functions that we can use around our automation. We can learn about that as well. And we can learn how to run code before, after, and during our task using events, okay? Then we will learn how to send HTML notifications, which might include your own signature and images without the necessity of hosting them on the internet. And then we will learn some of the more advanced things like how do I attach templates or files inside of Automate instead of depending on external locations. If we have time at the end, we are going to do a live demonstration on how we can connect to IBMI or iSeries or AS400, or whatever you call them. And if you have, I want this to be as interactive as we can. So if you have any questions during the task building exercise, you can just ask me and we will try to answer it. So if you have no questions, we can jump right into Automate, okay? So I know that you have already seen some of the basic features of Automate. We will be focusing on the repository and creating a task. So the first thing that I always try to do is try to pick a name that will eventually help me remember what's the purpose of the task. In this case, it's quite easy. It's just a template task. The objective is that next time I have to start building a task, I will use this template right over here instead of creating something from scratch, right? So this is like your toolbox that you will use every time you have to create a new process. So let's edit our task.
Dario, let me just take just a moment.
Of course.
Brian, I know you were not in the earlier basic session. Do you have any knowledge or experience of RPA or particularly Automate?
Yeah, we've actually have a different product that we use for some of our things. So I was just kind of checking out, just kind of get some more exposure to RPAs, processes, and things like that. So we do have a competitor product that we use.
Okay.
I just want to, if you need help, I can create a quick offline session out of here to get you started a little bit if you want. And but if you just let me know if you want some help there.
Okay. All right. I'll hang tight for now.
Okay. Go ahead.
Great. Then just a brief description about Automate and what we do. As you may already know, it's an automation tool that can help you automate manual and repetitive processes, and we can create them using our interface and run it on different, what we call agents. That means that you can have the same task run on, any number of agents. We don't have a limit, and the task is the same, the price is the same. We don't change that. You can run interactive tasks that interact with, desktop applications, websites, or any application at all. And we have background tasks that can run on FTP server, or can move files, or can run APIs. That's basically what we do. And if you have any questions about any step on the process, you can stop me, and it doesn't matter if it's related what we are seeing or not. I will try to answer it. So this is our main interface. It's called a task builder. Well, we will basically start creating our automation. So before anything, I try to add a comment on what's basically the purpose of this task, right? So I don't know, let's put okay. Okay, great. Something that, if you take a look at this in 1 month, it pretty much tells you what was the purpose of everything. Okay. Now, the first thing I would like to see is how can we create a log file inside of Automate. Now, on the left part, we have all our actions. Automate is quite intuitive to use, and it has a drag and drop interface. So if I want to create a file, just a TXT file, the only thing I need to do is to drag and drop this write to file action. And I will choose, for example, Automate, this name, right? A normal log. Okay. What are the things that we need to include in any log file, right? We should include a timestamp, message type, and the message itself, right? I mean, this is like the basic things that I would expect from any log file, right? So Automate has some already pre-built tasks and functions that we can use in order to make our lives a little bit easier. So instead of creating some steps to obtain the actual date and time, I can use what we call a basic function. And this is similar of what you can encounter in Excel, for example. Now, we can go to basic functions, and you will see that we have a lot of them, right? And some of them are pretty familiar. I mean, right, it obtains the character on the right of a string. Left is for the left. Then we have trim that removes spaces. So some of them you already know, and if you don't know them, or if you actually want to know what one of them is about, you just press F1 and it will take you to our help menu, where you will have a list of all the basic functions and how to use any of them. So right now, the one that we are about to use is called now. So I can show you now function. This is the one that I want to use. It has an example, a short description, and what it looks like. Okay, so I just going to type here now. I will double click and it will replace what was already on my log file. Okay, every variable in Automate needs to be between these percent signs. Now, the message type, we can have an informational message, or maybe a warning or an error message, right? In this case, we are just starting our task, so it's going to be informational only. And the message I want to write, I know, starting our task. Okay, so as easy as that, I don't need to know anything, any programming skills. I don't need to know how it's writing to the file. I just hit run. And let me open here, navigation pane, see automate. It automatically creates the folder that I need here under log. If I double click, I will obtain exactly what I was intended to write, the actual date and time, the type of the message, and the message right over here. And it takes the format of my system. So right now you can see that it's the same format that I have. So it's actually very versatile on that point. So let's see. Okay, this is great. We have written something pretty easy, but it's not very useful because it's always going to write on the same place. So what are some of the things that we can start including in our log? Okay, first of all, I can always write on the Automate folder, but I can, I don't know, use the name of the task as a folder. So I have one log for each one of my tasks. Now, if you take a look at the right side, you will see this percent sign that will open the expression builder again. And this time, instead of using one of our basic functions, we will go to our extended functions, which are more related to Automate and the environment. So for example, I can obtain things like the Windows directory, or I can obtain, for example, the where is Automate installed, right? It can be on program files, it could be whatever you want. And in this case, I want to obtain the name of the task. So if I can't remember, I will write task and I will take a look at the names and until I get what I want. Get task name, very intuitive. And still, if I don't remember the name, I can always go here and go to extended functions, and I will have the complete list of everything, all the functions that I have available on the extended menu. Okay, great. Again, with F1, you go to that place. Let's hit insert, and now I have the Automate folder, and it should automatically create the folder with the name of the task. So let me just remove what I have right here, delete. Okay. Now, if I run this again, see, it's super fast. It created the template folder because that's the name of my task. And inside I have the log file. Okay, great. Now, what happens if I try to write several lines of my log file, of my log step, and then I realize I don't want it in Automate. I want it somewhere else. Should I just change all the steps? Well, I mean, we have an easy way to fix that, and we can simply create a variable which will contain the name or the location of the log file. So I just drag and drop the create variable step or action, and I will name it. I always try to name my variables with the var prefix. It helps me. Later, you will see that we have a lot of objects inside of Automate. And so I try to use something that identifies each object. So if I take a look, I already know this is a variable, a descriptive name, log path, and I just type or paste the whole path of my log file. And now it's pretty much the same thing that we have already done. We just go to the expression builder again. This time we are not using a basic function or an extended function. We will use a local variable. Now, local means that it has been created on the same place where this action is actually living. So when I click OK here, it's telling me to look for the variable definition inside of my main function. So now if I hit run again, nothing has changed. I still have the same log file on the same location with the same information. Now, when I have this sort of tasks, I don't want to include what will help me diagnose if there is an issue inside of the main task on the main function. There should be a better place to use my variables and to record the initial initial steps of my tasks. So what I basically do is I will copy this step and I will go to events, and in here I will have different types of events. One of them is, for example, when a task is starting. Another one is when a task is ending. And for example, one of them is when the task fails. Okay, this is just some steps that will run before, after, or during our task execution. So let's put initiating our task. Okay, great. So this is starting. Remember, I am using this variable, okay, to store the name or the location of my log. Now, the problem is that my variable has been created on a different function. So this step or this action over here has no access to that variable because it's not a local variable anymore. So in order to access that variable, I will have to create, instead of a local variable, I will have to create a task variable. So I will delete this. I will go to task variables, and with this plus sign over here, I will paste the location of the file, and I can name it, I don't know, task. I will change the name so we can see there is a difference. Log path. Okay. Now, if I go here, it's still, I won't see it on local variables, but I can see it under task variables just fine. So I will double click here. Now I don't have anything on my main function. When I just click on run, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. It's reading the variable information from the task variables and writing on my log. Okay, so now I have started my own log. Let's just finish our log, okay? Once this is done, I will end finishing our task here, ending our task. And I don't want to overwrite the file. I just want to append to the already created file. Okay. What else can we add to our log? Okay. One of the things that is always useful to have is how much time did it take to complete the process? Okay. In our case, it will only be seconds. Okay. But nevertheless, you might have a very big process or a very big task which has many steps and can take minutes or even hours. So we need a way to materialize that amount of time. So starting our timer. Now, timers are very easy to use. I just write timer on my action pane, and I will use the start action. Now, I will start our timer and I will save the information about the timer on this session. So again, I don't really need to know how this works or what's behind our task. It just saves the connection or saves the information inside of the session. So once I finish the timer, I will have to specify which session do I have to end and where do I want to save the amount of time. So I will create another variable called timer, and I will save the time in there. Let's go to the event. Let's go to task end, ending our timer. Now, this time, instead of starting our timer, easy. I'm just going to stop it, okay? And it's asking me, okay, where do you want to save the lapsed time? So I will choose my taskbar timer. It will be in seconds, but it can be on minutes, milliseconds, whatever I need. And I mentioned that you have to remember, or at least you have to know, which is the name of the session that you are using, because you might have different timers contemplating different steps inside of your automation. So right now we are using timer session 1, but you might use timer session 2, 3, or anything, any name that you want. And what should we do? We will include that in our log file. So let's, okay, this is the time. I will use the timer over here, and we know it's on seconds. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's just run this. Let's open our log again. Something is new, and yeah, I mean, we have our starting task, ending, and this is, I mean, it took 1 second, right? But I don't like to have this many decimals after the comma, so there should be something that we can do. Let's go to the event here, and let's see. Let's remove this. Now, for those of you who are familiarized with Excel or can't figure out how to round up a number, we can just type round in here, and we will have a function that will help us round that number up. So it has two different parameters. One of them is expecting a number, so I can just paste our task variable, and the other one is asking me how many places before the decimal comma or decimal separator. This case, just two of them will be fine. So let's see, insert. Okay, that fixed our problem right over there. So let's see, let's create a message over here. Waiting for 5 seconds. Again, the name of the window, we can choose the same name that we have on our task. And let's automatically select the OK button in 5 seconds. Okay, so we know that it has passed some time. Okay, 4, 3, 2, 1, great. And let's see what we have here. Great. Okay, everything great so far. But still, what happens if, I don't know, I try to use a variable, for example, this one over here, but I forget to put the last percent sign. This is obviously going to fail. So if I run this, I get an error message right over here. If I open my output dialog, I can see invalid expression because it doesn't understand what's going on. It's expecting the end of this variable, but it's not finding it, so it doesn't know what to do. Now, if I take a look here, I don't have that error in my log file, so it's not a very useful log after all. So what can we do? There are easy steps, and there are steps more specific to the errors I am receiving. So the first thing that I can do is, for example, this might be an error that if it happens, I don't want to stop everything. I just wanted to continue. So if I double click here, I have the on error tab. If I click on it, I have several options. For example, the default action is to stop everything if I get an error message, right? But in my case, this could be a controlled error that sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't happen, and it shouldn't affect the behavior of my task. So I will simply continue to the next step. So although this is going to fail, it will continue executing the next step. So if I add something here, and hit run, this time, although I have the same invalid expression error, it still continue to the next step, okay? So sometimes we might have errors that, for example, if a window, sometimes it shows, sometimes it doesn't show. Okay, we can add that, okay, it doesn't matter. If it's not there, just continue, okay? Now, what happens if we want to capture the error and do something with it? Okay, we can create a variable called error, that will contain the error message that I have just seen. Okay, so let's double click again. Let's go to the on error tab, and let's add an action that we want to do right after we receive an error. So in this case, what I need to do is I need to populate that error variable with some message that I don't know what it is. I can't just type invalid expression because it might be that error, but it may not be that error. So I need something dynamic. So let's go again here. We have already seen basic functions, extended functions, local and task variables. This time we will go to the objects and errors, and we'll have some special objects about automate and the errors that we might receive. The one that we are looking for is the error description object. So notice how this is, now we know that it's a specific automate object because it has this prefix before? Yes. Okay. So let's hit on insert. Let's hit OK. And now what can I do about that specific message? Okay. Remember that if this fails, it will go to the next step. So right after that, I can ask, okay, what happened on the previous step? Did we get an error or not? So if the last step failed, I can just show the error message. So instead of saying hello, I will show my error. And I will put error message. And I can be more dramatic and change the icon. And let's see what happens when we run it. Great, we received the error message that it's invalid expression, the same thing that we are receiving here. Still, I don't see that on the log file. And still, the problem is that, what, should I just add that manual step on every one of my actions? That doesn't seem so efficient. So there should be a better way. Let's delete this. Let's remove all of these things over here. This could be very useful when you know that one specific action might have some particular behavior and you need to capture the outputs, because if there is a specific error, you can do one thing. If you have another type of error, you can do another thing. And so you can make decisions about that error. But we are trying to build something more generic. So what should we do? We mentioned that on the events, we have one event, one for when a task starts, when a task ends, and we have one for when a task fails. So let's use that. And this time, remember we talk about different types of messages. Okay, this is clearly an error. We will write different things, and let's see. These are some of the things that I think should be included, but you can type your own things in here. So the first thing I would like to see is the error description. The second thing is the error step number. And the last thing is the function name. Because once you progress in your task building skills, you will start using functions more often. So if it says that something failed on step 20, you will need to know where is that step 20 in which function. So let's see, let's go back to objects, errors. We mentioned error description, insert. Now step number, again, that's builder, objects, error, step number. And you guessed it, that's builder, objects, errors, function name. Okay, great. Now let's just see what happens. Let's hit run. It failed. Let's see if we, okay, now it's starting to make more sense. It's starting the task. We are receiving the error message. We are logging the error message, which is important. And the task is finishing. Now, there is something that I am missing. Now, the task is ending, but it's not telling me if it got an error. It's not letting me do anything with it, actually. So let's see what we can add. We mentioned that we have created a variable called error. Okay, let's do something. If we receive an error, I will change the value of my variable to true. And if it is true, then I will I can control the output. I can say, hey, you know, I received an error at some point on my task. So let's go to the events. Let's go to the on task failure. And now if we variable, okay. If we take a look at the variables actions that we have already seen they create one. We will set the value of my variable to true. Okay. So if something fails, it will write to the log. It will change the value of my variable. And at the very end, I can simply ask if my variable contains the text true. And if it does, it means that something went wrong. So I can choose from all the conditions that I have. The ones that fits what I'm looking for is the contains text. So if my variable error contains the text true, it means that something went wrong. And if not, okay, I can just write what I was writing, right? And in our task, everything is great. But if we receive the error message, okay, we can just write the error. I don't know, I can add something went wrong or anything I want. Okay, let's click on save. And now if I run this, I get the error, I change the variable, and I can see it right here, ending our task. And this is very dynamic because if now I just fix the problem that I had because it's telling me the problem is on step 2 on function main. So if I run this after fixing this, okay, I don't see errors anymore. So it's telling me that how to fix something, where is the specific error, okay? And once I fix it, I'm ready to move on, okay? So let's see, so far we have seen some of the, advanced features, not all of them, so we can continue to see how can we make this even better, okay? Now, right now I have shown you if we had an error message, I would like to do something about it, right? Now, what happens at the end of my task? No matter if I receive an error or not, I will try to send send email notification, right? I mean, pretty easy. My process will run unattended, and every time it runs, I just want to receive an email, okay? So with Automate, it's quite easy to send an email. We have a lot of ways to do it. I will try to show you at least the 3 main ways to send emails, okay? The first one, it's pretty much what maybe you have already seen with Pat on creating Excel, that sort of thing. We have to connect to our SMTP server, or it might be Exchange as well. So in my case, it's this one right over here. It doesn't require any authentication, but if yours does, just click here and select the type of authentication that you have. Or you can use Exchange as well and use your own Windows domain username to connect to the Exchange server. I have created the session. The connection parameters are going to be stored on email session 1. So if I want to send a message, the only thing I need to do is to use email session 1. And that's it. I don't have to connect again. I just connect once. I use that connection multiple times, and then I close the connection. Okay. But what about these other 2 options? Okay, the one in the middle, host, it's pretty much like a one-time thing. I can type my SMTP server, and I can send the message on the same action. So if I know that I will only send one email and that's it, maybe this is the one that I can use, right? But there is one that is more interesting. It's called the system. And if you notice, it's not asking me for a server or a port or authentication. It's not asking me for anything. It's just asking me to send the email, right? And how does this work exactly? Okay, if we open Automate and go to Options, we have under Default Properties, the email, where you can set the email that you are about to use in all of your tasks. This is quite convenient because if you have Exchange and your password expires, well, you can just change it on one location and it will affect all the tasks associated with this email connection. So in my case, if I just select system, I can simply send the email from, I don't know, automate at helpsystems.com to, let's write my own email address, the subject. Meanwhile, I will open my email. The subject, let's select, I don't know, we can use, again, our extended function, get task name, notification from, okay, and on the body, let's type hi, and I don't know, I don't know what to put. Let's see, let's put hi. We have just finished running our task. And what's the information that we can put? We can put our timer and I don't know, regards automate team. Okay, great. All right, and on the attachments, I will attach the log file, of course. Great, easy, direct. Let's remove this create. Let's save it and let's just run it and see what we receive. Let's see this. Okay. While we wait, let's see. Let's go back to our email. Now, this looks pretty basic. Oh, I have just received it. Let me double click there. Okay. We have just finished running our task. This is the timer. We will have to adjust the, the decimals and the log file. So if I double click there, it's giving me the same information that I have on my log. Okay, great, awesome, super easy, straightforward, great. Now, this doesn't look, or at least in today's modern age, I think we can do better than just a TXT message. So let's see, let's just close this. Now, first we have the timer. We can put the same thing. Okay, so we have this check mark or checkbox over here that is telling me that I can actually send HTML messages. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I usually, and we are not affiliated to this, but I always use an online HTML editor because I don't really know anything about HTML, to be honest. And I don't have to know anything about HTML. I just type what I want from here, and I can edit, for example, I don't know, let's start editing some of the things that we have here. I can change this, and I will just try to create a signature, right? Let's insert a table. I will put here my name. In here, I will put automate theme. And I can just leave this the way it is. Wait, let me just delete this last column, last row, delete row. Okay. This is signature. I will put this on bold. I don't know, put this on blue or whatever. I can do with HTML. If you know enough about it, you can do pretty much anything you want. And let's see, let's just copy what we have here on the right. And this automate theme, I like it to be like this. Okay. Let's copy this. And again, you can use, if you know HTML, you don't have to use this at all. If you have another HTML editor, you can use it. I mean, it's really up to you. This is HTML, so let's check this. Let's click OK. Let's try to send another email. Okay, 2 seconds, it's enough. Let's just disable this for our next run. Now, let's see. Let's wait a few seconds. Okay, I have it. Double click. Okay, right now it's starting to look better. Okay, and still my signature, it's a little bit weird. I mean, I can try to add, I don't know, an image, right? I mean, like your own signature or anything. So I just have to look for an image online. For example, I don't know, let's open here our own website. And we can go to products, automate, and I like this little gears thing over here. So let's just right click on it and click on, slow, copy image location. So right here, I have an image that is already hosted on the internet. So I don't really have to do anything else. It's quite easy. I just go to my editor. And from here, I will just use this insert image. Click OK. And I will merge these cells. Wait, if I can find it. Table, cell, merge. Here it is. Okay. And, you know, just for fun, let's here, let's use our let's click here, let's hit link, and okay, now it's looking better. Let's select everything. Let's go to our HTML message again, and let's just paste everything. Okay. Save, run, and let's see what we have. Now, although this method seems to be pretty fast and it works on most cases. See, here's my signature with that pretty icon over there. And if I click on it, I just go to my own website, which you can use with your own company website. Now, what happens if I don't have internet access, or if I have a very slow connection or anything? Just remember, this icon is hosted on another website. What happens if that website doesn't exist anymore? So we will have to do something about it. Let's go to products, automate again. This time I will download this image. Save image. And let's name it as gears. That's great. Okay. So if I go now to events again and the email, the first thing I need to do under the attachments is I need to attach that that my company logo or the image I have selected. Okay. Now I can attach the image to the email, or I can attach the image to the task. Now the benefit is that if I attach the image to the email, it will always go to the same place to look for the image. So if I click here and I go to download, notice how it will always search for the email, for the image in my own local drive. So if I export this and share it with you, it's going to try to locate this image in this drive, which doesn't exist in your system. So we are running into a problem there. What's the solution? I can attach things like files or images into our task. And so if I simply share this with you, it will be attached to the task. So it's not going to give you any error messages. And I will put company logo. There's. Okay. Let's hit OK. Let's go back here. And let's just, now we haven't seen this before. We have a different type of object that are the attachments. And now I can see my company logo right over there. I will double click. I have the attachments, company logo. Great, that is great. Let's click insert. Now, how do I use this inside of my automation, inside of my HTML message? We already know that this over here has the location of the file. So just using the file is not enough. Doing this, adding the company logo is not going to be enough, because it doesn't work at Outlook, or your SMTP server doesn't work that way. I will have to tweak a little bit. And first of all, I will remove this. The only thing I need is the file name. That's the only thing I need. So I will specify the file name using another one of our extended functions. Now, this time it's extract file name, and the file where I need to extract the file name from is the one that we have on the attachment. Okay. This way, it doesn't matter which name I choose, it will always work. So in the future, you will select your own company logo, which might have a different name. Doesn't matter, it will always work. So just to show you that how this works, I will choose another image. For example, I don't know, this one over here. PNG. Now, this has a completely different name, okay? Let's click on run. Okay, great. And let's wait a few seconds. Okay, I have received. It seems that I missed something. Let's see what it is. Here, I think that I have in uppercase and it should be in lowercase. Okay, and this over here, it's an equal sign there. No, wait, this was fine. Okay, let's try it one more time. Give me at least that. One more time, one more try. See what happened before? I mean, just attaching the image doesn't really work. I mean, we have to specify the image location, and now it's working. Okay. Can you see? I mean, now we have our own logo. I didn't have to change the actual name. It's very dynamic. You can have here your own name. I don't have to know too much about HTML. I mean, I just use that website, which is kind of friendly, what I usually do for trainings and for my own processes as well. So great. We are learning a lot. We have a task with events, notifications, and logs. Okay, what's the last, or at least what's the next step? Okay, when you advance in your own automation, you will start to encounter more and more repetitive steps that you run along your automation. So, for example, there is one thing that it always happens when I have a very difficult website, like a Flash website, maybe with JavaScript, or maybe an old Java application where I can really identify buttons or that sort of things. So let's run a quick example, and let's open a website. And I don't know, it can be wikipedia.org. Okay. Let's hit run. And it's opening in my other monitor, of course. Here it is. Now, I don't know if you noticed how fast it was to just drag and drop the task, the action, pull the URL, and in 10 seconds, I will have already a website open and ready to work with Automate. So what happens if I want to click, for example, in one of these icons? Of course, using Automate, it's quite easy. I just use click, select the browser, automatically completes the URL. And with this little guy over here, I just identify the button, click, and automatically complete all the HTML things. I don't really have to know anything else, okay? But let's just pretend for 1 second that this is not the case, that I have one of these difficult websites or applications and I can't really do anything about it. So the first thing, let's just adjust our string so it looks bigger and always on the same location. And let's focus on it while we are at focus. Okay. Now we have this website open. I want to identify this button using image recognition because there is no other way I can do it. So first of all, very first step, capture screen. Okay, so in order to capture our screen, I will have to create a variable which will contain the name of the image that I'm trying to capture. So variable, I don't know, screenshot. Okay, now instead of log, this will be screenshot.png. It can work with PNG, JPEG, and I think that's pretty much it. Okay, great. Let's capture the screen. We have a whole family of actions called image, where I will use the capture screen, and I can capture my whole screen, my secondary screen, the active window, what we will show, what we will use right now, or specific part of the desktop or the window. Okay, where do I want to save it? Under my screenshot variable, and I will override it if it already exists. So great, I'm capturing my screen. What's the next step? I have to locate the button on the screen. Okay, for that, we will use image recognition, okay? But first, let's just run this to see what this looks like. Okay, it's doing something. Let's close this. And let's see, screenshot. Taking some time. Okay, maybe we have to give it, I don't know, a few seconds. Let's go to wait for a duration of time. So for example, I can just wait for, I don't know, 2 seconds, okay? Just to make sure everything is in place. Let's click on run. I don't know why it's opening in my other in my other screen. Okay, taking some time. Great. Okay, let's close this. And now we have, I think we have what we are looking for. Okay. So what do we do now? We need to capture only this text over here. So let's close this. Let's edit on Paint or anywhere actually. I choose Paint because it's already there. And let's select only this little word over here. And again, this is actually looking for an image. So you can pretty much search for whatever you want. Let's like this. Okay, this is great. English, great. Let's save it. And button.png. Yes, okay, great. So we have our haystack, we have a needle. We need to search a needle inside of a haystack. So let's go back to our image recognition. So we have said, okay, our haystack is the whole screen. Our needle image, it's our button. Which was, where was it? It was in C, automate, template, button. The tolerance is, okay, if I know that it's something unique on the screen and it doesn't have anything even remotely resembling the word English, then I can have a 50% tolerance, okay? Now, if we know that we have a lot of similar objects, I might be using a less percent tolerance here. And let's save everything on a data set. And let's see what happens. Okay, I will click on save, click on run. Okay, waiting. Okay, it's doing something. Let's see what it has done. Let's go to variables, right click, inspect. And when we see our data set, we have the haystack, which was the entire screen. It has the needle. It has some parameters like the height and the width. And it also is telling me that it has found the image and it's giving me the mouse coordinates. So what's the next step? I will just click on the image. So step number 3, click on image. Only if found. Okay, that's so if we have the text, oh, where was it? Contains text. If our data set is found contains the word true, it means that it has been found, and I want to move my mouse and click on the mouse coordinates. So I will move mouse where to the data set X and the data set Y. And then I will just click, left click. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's just click on run. And believe me, I haven't moved at anything. It automatically detected the mouse coordinates. It moved the mouse to those coordinates and click on it. So it did everything by itself. I haven't touched anything.
Dario, can I jump in just a moment?
Of course, yes.
So I've used this recently, and I found that I had some issues, and it was because I had some scaling set on my display.
Yeah.
So that was creating problems. It wasn't finding what I was looking for until I moved back to a one-to-one scaling on the screen. So just wanted to mention that so people don't run into that and have trouble finding.
I have several problems, and all related to either resolution or the magnifying, the zoom of the screen, for example. So my recommendation is, if you have to use the screen capture or the capture screen action, try to capture the screen exactly as you will see it on production, right? So one of the things that I try to control is, okay, if this is going to be my production environment, I just take note of the screen resolution and try to always use the same screen resolution, because otherwise it's not going to work. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Every little change will affect your automation. For example, in my case, I'm using this resolution. So if I try to run this on my other monitor, it's not going to work at all. So we have to be careful, about those things. And one thing is that if this is something very, very common when you are dealing with complex websites or complex applications, and you might use this very often inside of your main function. So instead of just copying this and pasting it over and over and over, you can create a function and just change. If you need to change something, you only change it once. So I will cut this, and here in my functions, if I click here, you can see that I only have one. So I will click on this little icon over here and create a function called image recognition. Okay, great. And I can just paste it over here. And I will put function image recognition. Okay. So what happens now? If I just go to my main function again, I can call our function inside of automate image recognition and calling image recognition function. And that's it. I mean, I just have some functions that now I can reuse over and over and over again. And if I have to change something, I just change it once. Okay. But there is one tiny problem, that it will always search for the same button, the same image. So how can I change this every time I run the function from here, from my main function? Okay, if I go back to our function, I have one tiny thing over here called parameters that can help me send parameters to my function. So I will put parameter button location. I will copy this, and it's not optional, it's mandatory. So now that I have it, let's paste it over here. Oh, wait. Let's paste it over here with the, of course, the percent signs. And when I go back to my main function, something is going to change. Notice how previously I didn't have anything inside of the brackets, no, parentheses. And now I have, it's asking me for a parameter. Now, if you take a look, and it happened to me a lot of times, if it is a string, please make sure that you use double quotes, because it's going to fail otherwise. So I'm sending the button location as the parameter inside of my function. So the behavior, hopefully, is going to be the same one. It keeps opening in my other monitor, sorry. It will send the button to the function. The function is going to receive that parameter, and it just click on it, and that's it. Now, next time, if I want to find, I don't know, this Wikipedia button, it's the same behavior. Instead of sending this button, I will just do the same thing with Paint, locate another button, and that's it. That's pretty much it. So right now, what I want to do is I want to use this template and show you guys how we can interact with IBMI, with the IBMI connection. Okay. Now, I don't know if you have any questions about everything that we have seen so far. Okay, I will take that as a no.
One thing, if you have time, it would be really useful just to build a simple workflow. We didn't cover that with Pat, and show us how we could pass information between tasks, things like that.
I love it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I like it. Yes, I was thinking about IBMI, but you know, we can do whatever we want. Basically, it's just us.
Let me just say, we have IBMI people on the call here, so I would go there first and do the IBMI, and then come back to this if you have time. I know it's probably short on time, but I think the IBMI is probably more important to folks here right now.
Let's see.
All right, thanks.
Let's try to do both. Let's start with a short IBMI demonstration, and let's hope we have time for the shared variables thing. Okay. So let's see. First, I will save this, so later I can send it over, and you can have it. And let's try to copy and paste here. Okay. So what do I want to do for IBMI? I was thinking about how we can extract, for example, system metrics from IBMI, right? So the first thing that we do is we connect to IBMI, we insert our commands, and we try to get what we see on the screen, okay? Now, Automate doesn't use client access or any external emulation. It has its own terminal, if I can write it. Okay, terminal actions. For example, I can use, let's create 3 variables first, var IBMI host, user, and password. Okay, so host name, I have my very own IBMI. My username, I will use the QSEC offer. And I don't want you guys to know my password, so there should be something that might help me, and there is. I can make this variable secure, and I can type my password without you seeing it. Okay, so what are we going to do? Connect to IBMI. Great, it's quite easy actually. I just use this connect action, which is not only for IBMI, of course, but it's for Linux, Unix, mainframe, anything you want. For example, if I want to use it with Linux, I just use the SSH type of connection. But in this case, TCP IP is the one that I want for IBMI. And I can also connect using the secure port as 993, but of course the default one is port 23. My host name, host. I will, just for the testing purposes, I will show the window, but we don't actually need to see anything. It can run like, I think that the maximum amount of tasks that I ran at the same time was like 50 tasks running at the same time, I guess, against the same IBMI. So it's crazy. Okay, I will connect to IBMI and I will wait for the sign on screen. Okay, and let me just stop receiving emails because it's driving me crazy. Let's just stop this. Let's save and let's hit on run. Okay, now this tiny window appears and you can show in what, 1 minute, I have established connection to the IBMI. Now, working with IBMI, it requires patience and knowing what your next step is going to be. So before signing in, I need to wait until I see the sign on screen. Okay, quite basic. So I will wait for text to appear and the text is sign on. What happens if, I don't know, 2 minutes, goes by and I don't see anything. Okay, I want it to fail because something went wrong. I don't see the sign on the screen. Something is not right. Now, I'm on the sign on screen. Let's just sending credentials. Okay. So how do I send text? Of course, using the send text action. What do I send? I send the username. I will send a tab. So I go to the next line. I will send the password and the enter. Now, if you also want to protect your username, you can change it from here. But if at some point you are sending sensitive information, you can always click here and it will encrypt everything that you see in here. Okay, let me do it right away. Click and see, I don't see it anymore. That's it. Even if I uncheck this, it's encrypted and that's it. So, and the next thing is waiting for the IBMI welcome screen, which I haven't seen yet. So let's run it. Okay, that was fast. So let's use the same wait for action. This time, instead of the sign on screen, I can wait and see, until I see IBMI main menu. Okay. Let me close this. IBMI main menu. It's not case sensitive, so I don't have to worry about that, but IBMI has a space. Okay. Great. So let me sign off. I don't really have to sign off because this is using an ANSI emulation. I can use a TN5250 if I see fit. The advantage of this is that I can type the device name in here, which some people use to control the security on IBMI, which is great. Okay, once I'm on the IBMI main menu, we said that sending our command. And our command is send text. It's work sys status and enter. And I have to wait. See, notice it's, although I can just send command after command after command, I usually try to wait until I'm on the correct screen before sending the command, because I know it makes things more secure for me. At least I can sleep better at night. Okay, waiting for the work with system status screen. Okay, save, run. Okay, and okay, I'm here. Work with system status. Copy. Oops, what have I done? Okay, what can I do? I can extract, for example, this line over here. I can extract the whole thing. I can do whatever I want. So let's close this. Let's create a variable which will contain my screen. And let's just capture what we see. Capturing our screen. And now let me show you. In order to obtain things from the screen, instead of sending text, we are just getting text. And I have mentioned that we can get only one line with a specific line, or we can have the entire screen, which I think it's better right now. Screen. Okay. And once I get everything, closing connection. So there is nothing left on the IBMI. Let's click OK. Oh, sorry, I was too fast. When I opened the connection, everything was saved under this session, terminal session 1. And when I close the connection, I use terminal session 1. And in each one of these, I'm using terminal session 1, terminal session 1. So again, I don't even know how Automate connects. But the only thing I know is I have to use the same session every time. And I can open multiple connections to different systems. And I will always identify each one of them using the session number or session name. Closing the connection and showing results. And what's interesting is that once we have obtained what we want, we can, that's it. I mean, the most difficult part has already passed, and we can do anything we want with the information. So it's okay. Save. And now you will see everything is going to be super fast. It's going to show us it's a cover, everything, closing, and that's it. And that's it. And let me show you something more interesting. If I go back to the connection and I uncheck this, if I run it, it's not going to show me what it's doing because everything is being done like in the background. So it's still obtaining everything. And I can still play with this. I mean, I can copy this, and I use another tool that I have over here for regular expressions. Now you don't need to know regular expressions in order to use Automate, but if you do, it's going to make your life a little bit easier. So I can obtain, for example, the CPU used, right? So I will do this. And I will say, okay, now I will have multiple spaces. This, and then I will have something that is not, and space. And the not is no, yes, like this. I want to capture this. And that's it. Okay. So, okay. I have obtained everything on the screen. That's the most difficult part. Now I can do anything I want. I can save it on an Excel spreadsheet. I can send it by email. I can put it on a TXT file. So that's it. CPU usage. And let's see. Obtaining CPU usage. Now I will use one of our text actions called find. The text that I would the text I want to use for is the screen that I have just get. I will try to find this. Now, regular expressions work a little bit different in Automate. I have to exclude things instead of including. Okay, I'm saying, okay, I will have all of this, and I don't care about it. I just care about what's on the end. And I will save it under right here, bar CPU usage. And our CPU usage is like this. Okay, save. Let's see what happens. It's doing something, it's doing something. Oof. What happened? Something happened. Let's see what happened. Invalid expression. Okay. Yes. See, invalid expression. Just just the error that we had at the very beginning. Okay, because I'm using. Let's see if this works. Yes. All right. Because I put the percent sign and it was expecting a variable. It didn't find anything. So, okay, see, I mean, the number even changed. So always with Automate, the most difficult part is how do I extract the information? Then once that's done, it's pretty easy. I mean, I can do whatever I want. This is just like the easiest example that from about IBMI that we can do. I mean, we can do pretty interesting things. For example, we can actually connect through ODBC to a file in the IBMI and query information. I think that I have an example over here. Yes, this one over here. Let me just show it to you. Now, the only requisite is to have the IBMI ODBC already installed on the Automate server, but that's pretty much it. I mean, if you take a look at this, it's actually quite easy. I just established the connection using the AS400 ODBC, sending the password, the username, and the host name. Okay, pretty normal. And then I just run any query. In this case, this is this query. If I take it and run it on the AS400, which I can do, it's going to bring all the users created on the AS400. So let's connect, and let me paste this. And I think I have to change this. Now, how do I do this in my keyword? Like this. Okay. See, I mean, this is a query that I can normally run on the IBMI, but with Automate, I can just let me exit this. I can run exactly the same query, save it on a data set, and I don't know, in my example, I just put it on a spreadsheet. But once you have the information, that's, as I mentioned, that's the hard part, right? I mean, I established the connection, I'm running the query, taking some time. My IBMI is not here in Argentina, so that's why it usually takes some time. And that's it. I mean, if I go to automate tasks, I have the output. It's opening, of course, in my other screen. No, not this one. This is here. And that's it. In what? 1 minute, 2? I have a report with all the users created on IBMI and some of the authorities that they have. I mean, you can run any queries on any file the same way that you do interactively, but without even logging in into IBMI. And I think that's pretty interesting. Now, we have some time. I would like to jump into the shared variables thing, but if you have questions about IBMI, let me know and we can see it. Okay. Now, let's save and close this. Okay. So let's see. I will create one task, which I will put 1 input, another task, 2 output. Okay, let's open both. And let's see. So let's create a variable var input. No, input, no, message. Okay. And I will ask for some input, like, okay, what's your message? Okay, and it will be under var message. Okay. All right. So if I take a look at the variables, we can see the var message has nothing on the initial value, but once I finish this, it should have something under current value. This is my message. Okay, quite simple, quite easy. Now, if I go to my other tasks, no, this was supposed to be my first one here. And in my second task, I want to show, okay, the message was, and I have var message. Okay. Now, although I have created that variable on the other task, if I run this, it's going to fail because it doesn't have that definition yet. So what I can do is I can save my tasks, go to, let me see. This is what happens in my computer. I shouldn't be playing around Automate database so much. Let me close this. Let me open Automate again. Okay, just one advice, don't go poking around Automate database. That's the result, it's not good. Okay, new workflow. I don't want to use the wizard. I think we already know. Okay, shared variables. Edit. And let's see, we have under the repository, we should have the two tasks that we have just created, input and output. So just by connecting them through this arrow, once the first one ends, it will call the second one. Now, this doesn't help me at all. I mean, the first one has the definition of the variable, but the second one doesn't have anything. So once I run this, it's starting. My message is, I know this is the message, but that's it. The second one is going to fail. And it's telling me it's failing. Okay, because it doesn't have the variable. So how do I fix this? I just go to the workflow variables. I have variables, arrays, and data sets. We have already seen data set. I hope you know what an array is. If not, you can always use our help menu that will, help you understand what an array is. And under the variables, I will add var message. Now, let's see, let's click OK. Again, I will see an initial value and the current value. I can't remember if I have to set the variable as a parameter or not, but we will figure it out now. So let's see. I'm running this. I'm putting this is my message. Okay. Now I think that I have to set this as a parameter inside of my task. Okay. At least it didn't fail, which is nice. But let's edit this. And I have two options if I remember correctly. The easiest one is I just delete the variable creation. The second one is on the advanced, it's treat as a parameter. I think both of them should work. So let's start with the treat as a parameter. And if it doesn't work, we can just delete that. Okay, it's starting. Okay, great. So initially, it didn't have any value, but now I have set the value inside of the task, and it's sending that value to the other task. Okay, so in the other task, I haven't even created the variable, but I can do the same thing as I have done on the first task to create a variable and treat that as a parameter. So this way I can share information between tasks without creating any external persistent file or anything at all. It will just send the information from one task to the other. So I don't know if this was what you were looking for, or
Yes.
if you have.
Yeah, that was it. Very, very good. Thank you. Obviously, we could go further and build a full workflow with decisions, but I think we just have, 9 minutes left. So probably a good time to take a few questions.
Of course. Yes, please. Let me know if you have any questions about what we have done or about anything about Automate.
I just love the flexibility and what you can do. So I don't have any questions, but I just thank you for the talk. That's kind of pretty in-depth view of what's possible.
Okay.
I don't know if it takes very long, but you might show us how to export a task so that we could import it into another version of Automate, another server or something.
Okay. You have 3 different ways of exporting something inside of Automate. The easy way, the easier way, and the easiest way. I will show you the easiest way. You just drag and drop like this. No, it wasn't so easy after all. Now, drag and drop. And that's it. You just have a backup of the task.
You can drop it back into the other, or copy it over and drag it back into the other tool.
Yeah, let me just drag and drop it. Let me delete this. It's going to ask me anyway if I want to replace it, but drag, drop.
Files, okay.
Yeah. The other one, it's you can't export folders, but you can select multiple files, and you can go, I think, right-click, export, and it's the same thing. It will export the Automate package.
Okay.
Now, if by any chance you have built something in Automate Plus, which is the Automate that I have, and you want to import it in an older version or maybe Automate Desktop, you just have to open it and go to File, open, File, Save Copy As, and this will create a sort of file that is compatible with Automate Desktop.
Mm-hmm.
So you can share tasks between different Automate versions. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions?
I think I have a question. It's more of like an RPA thought in generic.
Yeah.
So if somebody has a bot that's maybe built in a different system, is there a way to like import that into Automate? I don't know. It'd probably have to be in like some sort of format that's readable. And I don't know if there's anything that's like where there's a standard on how to read that in.
Well, no, I mean, I know what you mean. Like if you have in any other RPA software out there, if you have a task, you don't have like a converter or anything like that. No, I mean, it's just, you will have, it happens to me. People migrate from other platforms because I know it's too expensive or for any other reason. Yep. I have to look at what they have done and try to replicate that on Automate. There is no easier way, unfortunately.
Okay,
no.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a company that we were just chit-chatting to about RPA, and they state that they have a bunch of bots that are agnostic, meaning you can put them in different tools. So, and I was just curious of like how that would come across, but it's probably they just have to they have the steps built out. They just would have to put it into each tool that they work with.
Yeah. I think that the one advice that I can give you is if you want to check whether something has already been built or not, you can go to the bot store that we have. It's free. And here I think that I have built like 200 bots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they are from different technologies. For example, you have like
DocuSign. That's something that we picked up and just started using.
Yes, I like this one. I mean, it helps you send in documents or receive already signed documents or listing what users you have on DocuSign. So it's you know, and we have different technologies. Some of the bots are, you know,
Oh.
specific for some technologies, but some of them are just more like, you know, common things like, okay, how do I send an email, or
Right. Well, and that's the
yeah.
thing. So we're a help systems customer, and so I saw that you had Robot on there, that list.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably then have bots associated with Robot.
Yes, we do. Yes, I have done. I think it's robot high availability.
Yeah, we have Robot HA. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yes, I think I have built this a few months ago for one customer, and I thought it was a good idea to have it in here.
Okay.
It detects errors when you are trying where you are mirroring file the directories, files, and objects on IBMI. So although it's basic, at least it gives you the tool to build your own things in Robot HA. And that's what I was intended for. You know, I mean, I just provide the tools, and then you can do anything you want. If you click on it, you don't have to sign up. You don't have to do anything. It's just download, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, we only have 2 minutes. I don't know if you have any other questions.
No, I don't. Thank you for putting this together.
Fine.
It's good
All right.
stuff.
Thank you for attending, and I'm sorry we lost a couple people there. So these servers that are available will be available for 3 more hours, maybe 4. So if you have any desire to kind of play around, do more with Automate, or of course you can download a free trial and get it there on their site.
Okay.